NBL Now as the fans just filter out of the venue, which was electric for a majority of the night, but especially in this final quarter. Ian Clark lit it alight, but it was Tyler Harvey at the end who went from zero to hero. One of the worst fouls of the year down one end, and then arguably the biggest shot of the year down the other.
I mean, let's talk about that shot, because this is what Tyler Harvey does. Since his touchdown in the NBL, he oozes clutch. He was born for these big moments. And I love that he said to Kelsey in the post-game interview, he said, I went to Justin Tatum and said, I made that mistake. I want the ball in my hands. And he rose up, and we had the perfect view of it from where we're standing right here. It never looked like missing. Some people are just made for those big moments. That's certainly Tyler Harvey.
Did we expect anything more? I mean, you know what this guy can do. Yeah. And you're right. He had a defensive guy on him. He pulled up, nothing but net. And it was as cool as the other side of the pillow.
And you talk about, hey, rest in peace, Stuart Scott. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to leave you hanging on that one. Now, I was lucky enough to play with Tyler Harvey through college, and I always get annoyed when guys get the reputation of being a clutch player just because they're good. Tyler Harvey has earned that reputation through being a clutch player, which sometimes in today's media hysteria is hard to earn. But he's done it time and time again, and we've got to say, what else did we expect, as you said, Lanard?
We talk about clutch guys in the league, right? And again, you're going to bring up the names of the Bryce Cottons, even the Chris Golden. They're guys who have done it in those big moments. But have a look at Tyler Harvey's highlight reel of game winners like that in the last 5 years, and he's got the best one by far. It's exceptional to see, and to be able to have that trust from your coach to say, hey, here's the ball. Go and make us a play to win the game. Down one. They didn't have to take the three, but you just trust your superstars. And we'll talk about it, but they needed Harvey and Kel to step up. They got that in the first half, had other contributors, and now, I'll tell you what, now it's a three-game series with home court advantage, and that momentum could be huge.
Well, no, we spoke about it in the post-game on broadcast. That could be the shot where we look back at Jack McVeigh's shot, what won him the championship. Yeah, that's a backbreaker for Melbourne United. They had one hand on the trophy, about to go two up.
You know what I love about it? He was able to get up 22 shots. And that, if your two-man can take that many shots and feel good about himself and then knock down the game winner, watch game 3. I'm telling you now, he'll be full of confidence. He'll be knocking down shots everywhere.
The biggest storyline to come out of the game, because of that last shot in particular, was that Shay Illy wasn't available to play in guard, because you would like Shay Illy to guard Tyler Harvey. He's been doing it so far in this series. So he copped that knock, and from all reports, he passed the concussion test. With the history that Shay Illy has with his concussions, what the ramifications mean in the series is one thing, but now we're talking about a human being. We're talking about a father of 3 and a husband. It goes far beyond just a basketball game. So hopefully he's okay, because you want both teams at their very best. But the fact that they had to be precautionary, they had to sit him out knowing his history, the fact that he passed the concussion test is good. But everything that I know and we've seen in previous years, he might be ruled out of the next game, and that's going to be massive if so. But again, first and foremost, his health is so important, because there's life outside of basketball.
And what's important is Melbourne United always give him time to get himself back on track, which is a great thing. A lot of teams will be trying to push him now to get back on the floor, because it's all about the championship. But Melbourne are a good enough organization where they'll give him time to get himself back, and hopefully he can get back this next game.
Let's focus on the Hawks. They're up 2 at halftime. They end up winning by 2. They continued what they were doing. Melbourne United looked to be pushing out a little bit towards that sort of second half. What did the Hawks do that managed to not only just keep them in the game, because I made the comment that, hey, Melbourne United has shown poise, has shown experience. It looks like they were going to swallow them up, similar to what they did in game 1. What changed?
Offensive rebounds. The Hawks had 22 offensive rebounds. And again, when you got shooters on the outside and you got guys grabbing offensive rebounds and giving them that second and third shot, they're always going to be in the game, Pete.
We talked about the masterpiece of Dean Vickerman coaching the second half. The masterstroke of Justin Tatum to go big. He had Ulbrich, who barely played in the first game, and Froling on together for a large majority of the second quarter onwards, and they were beating them up on the glass. The foul trouble the Melbourne United bigs had in the first half, and instead of going small and having a match with Tanner Krebs out there, Justin Tatum said, I'm going big, and that's what we all called for. We're no surprise that they had so much success. Froling loves playing against Melbourne United, but I thought that was a masterstroke in its own right. And they just put heat on the rim. They forced extra possessions, 22 offensive rebounds. I tell you what, Melbourne United's lucky there's not a big week gap or a regular season, because that normally gets Dean Vickerman more upset about anything else. But unfortunately, you've only got a few days.
You would know.
Mate, normally that ends up being hot yoga, boxing, everything, just to rip you up.
You reckon the game's changed, man? The punishment for giving up rebounds these days is hot yoga.
With wrestling and MMA, all in the same 5-hour stretch until you're vomiting.
If they said it was hot yoga for not rebounding, I'd never get a rebound in my life, which I didn't anyway.
And you never do. That's right. You never do anyway.
Hey, the last shot, let's just talk quickly before we break down the game a little bit more. That last shot from Chris was in and it was out. Does that just mentally for Chris play any impact? Maybe I'm reading too deep into it, but when you miss these big shots, it can sometimes toy with you a little bit.
No, not until the end of the series. I think Chris Goulding, he's taken so many shots, he's made so many big shots. But you're right, you talk about the view we had here for Tyler Harvey.
And that thing was in. I'm a betting man.
That thing hit basically halfway down the bottom there and fell out. And they've got the experience to be able to put that aside. But you know that's going to be a hostile crowd going into Game 3. And if you drop that game, all of a sudden you're thinking, man, we had, as you said, one hand on a trophy. And they're going to away from the camera because the cameraman keeps moving. You keep going back, Coach.
I smell bad, man.
Yeah, and you guys got to remember, Swakala Bullock did a great job on Goulding down in Wollongong, so you expect that to happen again. Right before Goulding took that last shot, he took a bad shot, I thought, before that, that threw him off rhythm.
Where do you think Chris's shot selection, now you've got to live with the bad with a guy
Absolutely,
like CG43.
absolutely.
Are you still happy with the shots that he was taking? Because there were a couple that felt a little more out of control than we'd usually see, especially early on.
That's Chris Goulding. He can take any shot he wants because he's the #1 guy at making tough shots, and it takes him to miss a couple of shots to get himself going.
What's been their most effective offense is every time he comes off the high ball screen or a handoff, they double team him and he hits the short roll and they get that backdoor cut. It was Kyle Bowen in this game, it was Jack White in the first game, and they're just getting easy dunks. Now, Chris Goulding probably had to take a few more erratic and contested shots because of Jack White. 18 minutes, 0 field goal attempts. Not 0 field goals made, 0 field goal attempts. We spoke about how important he is for Melbourne's success. Not even attempting a field goal, that's wild.
I got a question for you guys. What does that do to his psyche? In the Wollongong, you don't take a shot in Melbourne.
I'll answer that question with another question. Were there any moments, I actually think when you look back on the game, we've probably got to watch the tape to really nail down on it, but I didn't think there was any moments where Jack, took it to the rim and backed out because he didn't want to shoot. He did kind of just play a bit of a perimeter role. So I would be more concerned if he was getting a la Ben Simmons when you get right to the rim and then you're like, I'm too scared to get fouled. It did feel like he was just finding other guys.
Well, they need him to be aggressive, though. If Chris Goulding's not scoring a lot of points, thank God for Ian Clark. Ian Clark came in and gave him 31 points, but they need Jack White to be as aggressive as possible, even though he's missing free throws. Get to the basket, dunk on someone, knock down some threes, so he's confident enough when he goes down to Wollongong.
That's the key. You hit the nail on the head. It's show that aggression. It's when you get it from the short roll and they double team Goulding or Clark, it's taking an aggressive dribble, and if the defense retreats, go up and dunk it. If they come, then you pass the lob. I think that aggression, we spoke about it all year. We see from Jack White at his very best, he's a 20-10 player. Yep. He's trying to put heat on the rim. He's knocking down the three ball. But he didn't even attempt a three. He didn't even attempt a layup. I think that Dean Vickerman will be saying, hey, ahead of Game 3, man, we need you to be aggressive. There's no difference in going 0 for 0 and 0 for 10. In the end, you still didn't score. So at least got to be aggressive and try and put some in. On
the topic of not getting a field goal, my ADHD brain can sometimes miss things. And it was Todd Blanchfield didn't attempt a field goal after his heroic performances in Game 1. Was that more on Melbourne United saying, hey, we're not going to play the old we'll let Blanchfield beat us strategy, or was there more to it?
No, I think it was the rotations from Justin Tatum. Yeah. He threw Dan Greeter in there in the first quarter and really tried to spark things with his energy. I thought Greeter was terrific. So they clearly changed things up in that regard. And don't forget, Todd Blanchfield, congratulations to the family. They just had a baby either yesterday or the day before their second one.
So 1 for 1. He got a shot.
So he might. so he might have not
had the most important shot of his life.
He might have not had any sleep.
Oh, net.
He might have not had any sleep or any be able to train. I've spent way too long with you two.
Hey. Oh, God, I'll tell you what, unbelievable performance. We've spoken after each of these of how does it change your sort of imprint or idea of how the series is going to run. Most of us, after Melbourne took Game 1 on the road, we were thinking, okay, well, we're definitely more siding towards Melbourne United. Now that Melbourne United, now that Illawarra has stolen this one back, are we further? Are we just momentum? Are we seesawing? Are we back in the Illawarra camp?
Well, I've been speaking a lot about Illawarra's bench and how they come in and score points and do. Tonight, it was Melbourne's bench. Melbourne scored 64 points off the bench to Illawarra's 25. But you can guarantee that the Illawarra Hawks will have that bench rolling when they go down there on Sunday.
I don't know who's going to win from here, but I can guarantee you it goes to 5 games now. That's where we're going to get at, because this is going to, I think Illawarra is going to hold onto a Sunday win, and then they're going to go from Wednesday, because it just feels like that's what it's set up for. That Illawarra are feeling really good right now, and so they should.
I know there's a history of not honouring bets amongst certain NBL fraternity, you guys not included. Would you, if you've guaranteed a game 5, will you walk somewhere if it doesn't get to a game 5?
No, I don't do that because I would stick to my word. You know what? If it doesn't happen, I'll chase you up even further for what you owe me.
Oh, no. I gave him a fake very easy once, never paid me for it. This goes back a long way. All right, so we're still sitting with, I'm still with Illawarra for the series. I do think game 5 is going to go to Illawarra.
Yeah, I do think Illawarra, again, their depth showed to have Greedy come in and be impactful. I thought Days threw his weight around in a perfect sense in the first half. They drew fouls. I still haven't seen Rob Lowe, only played 9 minutes. Marcus Lee in foul trouble. I think what that did was open the eyes to the Hawks of, hang on, if we throw the ball inside to Froling and let Albury run loose and be aggressive, we've got some advantage there on the inside.
I'm sticking with Melbourne. Melbourne's got that experience. Dean Vickerman's been there and done that. They got the veteran guys on the team. Chris Golden could have very well made that shot, and we'd be talking about something different.
Hey, 100%, man. This was an unbelievable game. That's 2 fantastic games this championship series. We always say, how are we going to live up to the 5 games of last year? Well, the way this one's tracking and the storylines. Will Shay Illy be there next game? That is huge. If you're Tyler Harvey or Trey Kell, is CG43 going to bounce back and hit another game winner? There is so much to play out in this. We're going to be back Sunday, 5:30.
Before you wrap up, Lukey, I know you edited this. Could you just blur his face? We don't even need him on the thumbnail. We need just blur his face right there for me, Lukey.
Swear to God, I'm doubling that invoice if I don't end up on that damn thumbnail at least once during this final series. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next game.
Bye-bye.